Did you know that TYT now has a full audio network? On top of our existing lineup, this launch is gonna bring you brand new slate of podcasts, including Mouthy Messy Mandatory with Katie Anthony and Ronit Fanglas-Plank. Now that's a weekly show that discusses everything from family to really funny and fantastic women. To get more info on the show and the whole TYT audio network, visit tyt.com/audio.
A look at the current electoral map shows that Donald Trump could be losing a considerable amount of support in the swing states that really helped him win the election. Now, of course, this doesn't really mean anything because the general election is still years away, but nonetheless, we talk about his base and how they hold firm and they still continue to support Trump even though he passes policies that hurt them. But there are people in the country who are like, nah, we have now soured on Mr. Trump. So the Trump shift was to do better than Mitt Romney with white voters with no college degree. Non-college whites are overrepresented in a few key swing states, so Trump's narrow wins in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan netted him a bonanza of electoral votes. All right, well, Morning Consult just did a map, the latest electoral map, and it looks a lot more like the 2012 map than the 2016 map, okay? So Trump is actually underwater, not just in the three critical swing states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, but also in Iowa and Ohio.
So a couple of really interesting things there. Hillary Clinton lost Iowa with a worse deficit than she lost Texas. So she was closer in Texas than she was in Iowa, which is stunning given that Obama won Iowa. So she did terrible in Iowa. Right now, it's reversed again, and Iowa's headed towards the Democrats if the election were held today. Another amazing fact, Trump holds a lead in Utah. You're not surprised by that. Utah is one of the reddest states in the country by 1 point, just 1 point. That's amazing. People in Utah really don't like Donald Trump. They've never liked his policy on immigrants because Mormons view themselves as immigrants. And Mormons, for all of the different issues throughout history that they have had in terms of discriminating against others, have also been actually cared about family values, right? And been very decent to one another. So it's a mixed bag, and when they're wrong, we call them out on it, etc. But they have not been as hypocritical as others on family values. So they don't like Trump's record on that count, and they never have. And they voted for a third-party candidate in the election, not enough to swing the state, but got a huge percentage of the vote. McMullen did in Utah. So they've never been fond of Trump. But now the disconcerting news: Trump is still up by 5 in Florida.
I know.
So he has a bigger lead in Florida than he does in Utah. So for all those pundits who think, well, as Tip O'Neill said, dude, Tip O'Neill was in the 1970s. This electoral map is moving like almost every month, right? And it's now topsy-turvy where you can't tell where Ohio and Florida and Iowa and Texas and Utah are going. And these guys still use the leftover ideology of 1970s and 1990s. Almost every pundit on television still says moronic things from decades ago, when in reality, our entire culture is moving. Why? Because in the old days, the newspaper endorsement in Iowa mattered a lot. And so when you were going to the Iowa caucus, you really needed those endorsements. Now, no one reads the paper in Iowa. You know what they do? They go on the internet. So yes, you still have the red states that are very state and the very red, and the blue states that are very liberal. But we're getting more and more mixed up because we're all starting to get the information from the same place. So it's got its upsides and its downsides.
That's a good point.
Right? And so you know that the social media has its issues, but on the other hand, we're on the internet. Hey, Utah. Okay, so this map is gonna keep on moving. Buckle up, and I think that it's gonna be a great thing. Overall, Trump might not even be in the 2020 election. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, that would be fantastic. But one other thing I wanted to mention in regard to Florida, yes, he's up by 5 points, but remember, the election is years away. It is good to gauge how Trump is doing, though. I wonder what Florida's situation will be as more Puerto Ricans immigrate to Florida. And by the way, I know Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but I mean, travel or move to Florida. That's a better way of putting it. I wonder how that'll play out because Puerto Rico is still in terrible shape. I mean, Trump has completely neglected Puerto Rico. There's still huge portions where there's still no electricity. The infrastructure is still falling apart because of the hurricane and the devastation there. People are desperate. They're gonna move to Florida. And I'm curious to see how that's gonna play a role in the way Floridians vote.
All right, so last thing on this is that what people also underestimate is how terrible a candidate Hillary Clinton was. So on the day of the election, there was a poll out that had Trump at 37% approval, and he won the Electoral College anyway. Now he lost the popular vote by 3 million, but he still won the Electoral College, which is in this insane system that we have, what matters. But you forget how deeply unpopular he was, because again, in television, it's who's the winner, who's the loser, he's the winner, he must be great, everybody must like him. No, they didn't like him. They just disliked his opponent even more. It was the two most unpopular candidates in American history. That's not my opinion, that's the polling that indicated that. So next time, if he is in the election, which he might not only because of the charges that might come out against him, but also because he's probably gonna get primaried. Now, he's unlikely to lose a Republican primary, but anything could happen, right? But next time, he won't be up against Hillary Clinton. And so these terrible, terrible numbers that he's always had. Right now, they say he's booming. You know what his popularity is up to? Last poll that I saw, 39%. Booming, 39% is a miserable number. All you have to do is put a person on there that doesn't represent everything that Americans hate about the elite and the establishment, and you will destroy him. So I'm gonna stick with my prediction that I have had from day one. You get a progressive, an actual progressive, someone like Bernie Sanders, if not Bernie Sanders, and they will win 42 states. I know everybody on TV right now is snickering. Oh, I do declare Tip O'Neill said this in the 1970s, and all politics is local. This rascal online thinks that the Bernie Sanders with his uncombed hair could win 42 states. Do you know that he's a democratic socialist? All right, man, come and get some. This map is terrible for Trump, it's terrible for the Republicans, and if we have someone who isn't deeply despised as a Democratic candidate, they will actually rout the Republicans. Two easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber, and second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.